Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dylan Lane, come to you from the BS Academy, recorded down here in Dallas, Texas. Today is going to be a solo show, just your boy tuning in, giving you the latest updates on free agency for this past week. Going to look at potential landing spots for Cam Newton, potential landing spots for Jameis Winston. As always, thank you guys for tuning in, and welcome to the BS Academy. Alrighty, guys, welcome into the BS Academy again. Once again, this is a solo show just due to recent events surrounding what is currently going on in the world with this coronavirus. Unfortunately, scheduling conflicts did lead to a solo show this week, but that's okay. AJ will be back shortly. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Just want to tell everybody again, thank you guys for all the support we got on episode 1. It is much appreciated. Much love to everybody out there. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. As you guys know, coronavirus has temporarily suspended all major sporting events, well, any sporting event or any event for that matter. That being said, some of the leagues are currently coming out with potential proposals. It looks like the very first proposal on how to finish the season once this suspension does end is coming from the NHL. Just wanted to update everybody on that with the hockey news. Start off with that just due to the fact that it has been about 13 days. Kind of look to see what we would expect when we come back. This is a proposal. It's not quite guaranteed. We'll have the image up on all of our social media as well if you want to check it out. But the way it looks, I kind of like this proposal that they have to finish the season. It looks like it's going to be a giant tournament that the NHL will be doing with all teams. Therefore, even if your team has sucked all year, you still got a chance to win the Stanley Cup now because of this. And then also as well, I look at it as there's going to be about 9 weeks potentially, maybe more, just depending on how much time they're given between each game of playoff style hockey. It's going to start with round 1, where it's going to be the bottom 14 teams in the league are going to square off against each other for a 1-game playoff to essentially make it to round 2, where it'll then bump up to a best of 3 series. From there, the best of 3 series will then be played by the bottom 16 teams remaining play to reduce the field from 24 to 16. The top 8 teams, I can't talk today. The top 8 teams in the league standings would get a first round bye. Those teams that would be sealing the deal for the bye would be your Edmonton Oilers, your Dallas Stars, your Columbus Blue Jackets, New York Islanders, Winnipeg Jets, Carolina Hurricanes, Toronto Maple Leafs, your Calgary Flames, and your New York Rangers. They would all play winners from the first round, contingent on seeding from there. The only teams that are both got a first round bye that would play each other would be Calgary and the New York Rangers. From there, winners then go on to round 3, which now becomes a best of 5 series. Again, even more playoff hockey, which honestly, playoff hockey is one of the best things to watch, so I'm down with all the potential elimination games. Should make for a very interesting end to the season. The teams that would have a bye all the way to round 3 are going to be your top 8 teams in the league. That's going to be your Boston Bruins, your St. Louis Blues, your Colorado Avalanche, Tampa Bay Lightning, your Vegas Golden Knights, your Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia Flyers, and the Capitals. That being said, the winners from round 2 will advance to play those teams. From there, the winners will then go on to the quarterfinal, which now becomes best of 7 series. And then, of course, on to the semifinal, another best of 7 series. Then the Stanley Cup final, again, best of 7 series. I love this proposal. Every team gets a chance, no matter where they were at in the standings. This could mean that your team that was dead last who knows? Something clicks in the suspension. They come back and they just murder through the field. Highly doubtful, but it could happen. I mean, you give that chance for a little bit of a March Madness Cinderella story type going into the league. I do like this. Also like the fact that you're looking at a little over 2 months of playoff style hockey. Going to be very interesting to watch. You guys comment. Let me know what you guys are thinking as well. If you like this plan, if you don't like this plan, just let us know. I think it's going to be really good for the league. Unfortunately, some of the teams may not agree with it just because if they get eliminated that first game, they're going to lose out a lot more money than they've already lost out because they're only going to get one game back. But they've just got to be willing to roll with it. Everybody else is rolling with everything. These are extenuating circumstances. I think personally they're just going to have to get over themselves and deal with it. Maybe they shouldn't have been, so low in the league and wouldn't have to worry about it. Now, as far as staying on the topic of hockey, we do want to start a new segment on the podcast. AJ and I had been talking about doing this where during the time of the suspension, we give you guys a blast from the past where we bring in a special moment in sports history to kind of like I said, blast from the past. I mean, I was looking for another way to say it. But we're going to bring one from each of the weeks that we're recapping. And the one that we come to you this week is also in the line of hockey. So this past week in sports history, on March 20th, 1994, Wayne Gretzky tied Gordie Howe's all-time goal record, forcing a 6-6 overtime tie against the San Jose Sharks. 3 days later, on March, retire in 1999 after 20 years in the league. Remarkable career, the great one, the greatest to ever do it. He leaves with multiple records, but this record that he did set in 1994 for career goals would eventually grow to 894 total goals, and that record still stands today. And that's going to be it for this past week in sports history. Wayne Gretzky, man, one of the greatest to ever do it. I hate that, I was born in 93, therefore I didn't really get to see much of him play. But I mean, I did get to see a lot of his highlights, a lot of his replays, things of that nature. He's, greatest hockey player to ever live. He's got so many records. I believe the total is up to like 60-something hockey records. He's going to be one of those that stands in the record book for quite some time. It's going to be very hard to surpass him. I don't think you'll ever see another Wayne Gretzky in the NHL. One of the greatest athletes ever, one of the greatest hockey players to ever do it. The GOAT of hockey. And speaking of GOATs, how about Tom Brady? We've got a little bit of NFL free agency news for you this week. Tom Brady goes to Tampa Bay. Wow. If you would have told me that 3 weeks ago, I would have laughed in your face and said, no way. But Tampa comes out of nowhere this past week. They get Tom Brady. I'm going to call him Tampa Tom. Tom Brady signs for a 2-year, $30 million contract down in Tampa Bay. Rumor has it they're practically giving him the team. He's going to be able to make any type of changes, recommend whatever free agents he wants. It's clear that he was not in it for the money. He's only going to be making about $15 million per year. Not very much, considering the fact that there's going to be other QBs in the league playing under franchise tag, which we'll get into in a little bit, that are going to be making double what he makes for the year. So it looks like he's still gearing up to go win more championships. Can he do it in Tampa Bay? I don't know. Time will tell. We will discuss that on a later episode when I have my counterpart back with me so we can get into that. I personally don't think he's going to, but it would be pretty cool to see him go win it and be the home team of the Tampa Bay Super Bowl that's coming up this year. He would be the first ever home team Super Bowl team, if that makes sense. Now, that being said, obviously he's not going back to New England. That's going to leave a very big spot for New England. As far as that goes, who's going to go play quarterback for them right now? Really unsure on who that's going to be. There's been lots of rumors surrounding Cam Newton and potential landing spots for him and potential landing spots for Jameis Winston. I think that for Cam Newton, potential landing spots, I think there's going to be 2 spots for him that you could see. I was thinking 3 earlier this year, or earlier this week, but I've narrowed it down to 2. I can see New England being a very big spot for him. I think that would be good for him to do. They do need a quarterback. And I think that even though he does not fit the style of play that Belichick has coached for the last, 20 years with Tom Brady, Belichick is a good enough coach. I think he could adapt to what he has. I think Cam's got that willingness to learn, and he's going to want to show out as well. I think he's going to be playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder just for Carolina not keeping him, kind of forcing him into a trade that he was vocal about on social media throughout the first week of free agency. If Cam does not go to New England, I think the only other spot that I could really truly see him going would be the Chargers. But I'm not too sure. They've expressed that they're dedicated to Tyrod Taylor. I think that could be them just setting very low expectations, though. Kind of one of those under-promise and over-deliver situations. But we shall see. Wherever you think he's going to go, comment, tell me, let me see what y'all are thinking. That being said, Jameis Winston is another one up in there. Clearly with Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay, that means that Jameis is probably out on Tampa Bay. I think that he's got 3 landing spots right now. This is obviously just my unprofessional opinion. It could possibly change. I think, again, another place for him, just like Cam, would be the Chargers. I really don't see him being that committed to Tyrod Taylor like they say they are. Anytime you would want to pass up a 5,000-yard passing quarterback is just beyond me for Tyrod Taylor. That would just be insane. So I think that they would be willing to take him in, maybe build a team around him a little bit, get him a few more weapons on offense. They're already looking pretty good. They got Keenan Allen and Eckler. So I think if they can get another good wide receiver with Jameis Winston, I mean, we've seen what it can do with really good receiving corps. So I think that could be a good spot for him. Again, just depending on how serious is San Diego about Tyrod Taylor. I don't think they are, even though they express they are. Other 2 spots I'm seeing for Jameis Winston, potentially Miami. As of right now, they've got Fitzpatrick down there, and they are still in a rebuild, so they may not go hunting for a quarterback. But at the same time, when you got Jameis Winston out there, they're obviously not as bad as they were last year. They're going to make improvements this offseason. They brought on Byron Jones in the first week of the offseason to kind of help out that secondary. Offense still lackluster. However, they do have some picks coming up in the draft. See what they do there. If they can get Jameis Winston, maybe try and build around him, see how that goes. I don't see it being a huge recipe for success for them, but it could be a good filler until they do potentially draft a quarterback, sign a big free agent quarterback in the future. We shall see. And I think Jameis Winston will come at a not too heavy of a price tag for them to be able to bring in there and just kind of fill the role during that time. My third option that I could see for him, surprisingly, I could see him going to New Orleans, serving a little bit of a time as a backup and eventually becoming the successor to Drew Brees. I don't really have much information as to why I'm saying that. I just going off a hunch. To me, makes sense. I don't see why not. Drew Brees, probably a year or 2 left in the league. Why not have Jameis Winston learn from him a little bit, get those interceptions under control, and then he can be the successor to the great Drew Brees. Those are my opinions on where they may go. May change. I was way off on Tom Brady, thinking he was going to Chargers or Tennessee. Clearly Tennessee, they had other ideas. They broke the bank and signed Ryan Tannehill to a humongous contract, and then at the same time, they did my boy Derrick Henry way wrong. Franchise tag Derrick Henry, sign Ryan Tannehill. Absolutely awful decision in my opinion. I say you tag Tannehill if you're going to keep him. Let him play another prove-it year. I think he caught a little bit of a lightning in a bottle year last year, went on a giant run. He has these ups and downs, ebbs and flows per se in his game in the past. I say give him another prove-it year, tag him, sign Derrick Henry to the big deal. Derrick Henry, the offense goes as he goes. If he's playing great, they're playing great. got to pay Derrick Henry. He took your team as far as they went. Yes, Tannehill was the quarterback. However, Derrick Henry running over fools. No way he should have been tagged. You should have paid that guy. It's probably going to build up a little bit of distrust for him unless they can get him signed under an actual contract before the season. I don't foresee that happening. I'm not too sure on if he would hold out or not for the money, but only time will tell. Now, moving along in the free agents for this year, or for this first week, not year. It feels like a year. Everybody's been quarantined, so this week has felt like it's been months, huh? That being said, the first week of free agency, we saw some crazy things going on with the Rams organization. They released Todd Gurley, Clay Matthews. On top of that, they lost quite a few players off their defensive roster. They saw Dante Fowler go to the Falcons. I want to say it was Eric Weddle. He did retire. They are struggling. I'll get you the list of all these guys that they did lose real quick. Bear with me just 1 second here. I just want to make sure I get it all right on who they did lose. That being said, Todd Gurley looking to also go to Atlanta. Looks like Atlanta's taking a lot of what the Rams are losing. I think that's a great move on their part as long as Gurley stays healthy. I don't believe he's officially signed just yet. However, if he does sign with them, you're seeing a great running back paired up with Julio Jones. Then you also got Calvin Ridley out there. And if Matt Ryan can get back to where he was, that could be a pretty lethal offense. So we shall see what happens there. I'm curious to see what happens with this Rams defense. They are going to have to make up quite a bit of roster space that they lost. Let's see, they had lost Dante Fowler. I've already mentioned him. If I can get this thing to load up, we'll see who else they lost. Bear with me here. Yeah, there we go. They lost Michael Brockers to the Ravens. Again, Dante Fowler to the Falcons. Corey Littleton went to the Raiders. They released Roby Coleman at corner. And again, Eric Weddle retired. They've got a lot of gaps that they're going to need to fill, I feel like. So we're going to continue to monitor them, see what happens. That being said, also, we had mentioned Tannehill getting the franchise tag. Who else got the franchise tag? Just like I told everybody, Dak Prescott, franchise tag. I think they should have paid him. It's going to create more problems than it's worth to franchise tag him. I'm not quite sure if he holds out. The $30+ million a year that he's going to get under the franchise tag is still way more than what he's been making. So I do see that he may possibly still play. We'll find out in due time, though, if that is the case. In the event that he does not play, maybe he goes down to Cabo, heard about a nice little resort from Zeke, and chills down there and see what Jerry has to do. They don't really have much in the backup QB department. It does bring up the question that we were talking about last week. Will they look at getting Jalen Hurts as a potential contingency plan? I think if they're smart and he falls far enough, maybe to the third round, they take Jalen Hurts. They need a contingency plan in the event that Dak does hold out. We shall see, though, what happens with that. We're going to keep monitoring that. This first week of free agency, a very, very big trade was made. Probably the worst trade in Houston Texans history. I've got friends of mine that are Texans fans that are ready to go on strike, burn down the place, and be done with it. They traded DeAndre Hopkins, a top 3 receiver in the league. I'll argue with anybody that he's top 3 receiver in the league. They trade him for David Johnson, a broke-down running back with a heavy contract. Kudos to Arizona on this trade. They got out of a very big contract. They've got Kenyon Drake back there in the backfield, and they've got a new weapon for Kyler Murray to throw to. He's now got D-Hop on one side, and he's got Larry Fitzgerald on the other. Larry Fitz is getting a little older, but he's still got it, man. This is going to be a very good offense to watch. I'm very curious to see what they do. On another note, though, what the hell were the Texans thinking this terrible trade? As one of my buddies had sent me earlier this week, the Texans gave up DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of stale Doritos. Terrible trade. Terrible. We shall see, though, what happens moving forward. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again. This concludes episode 2. Thank you guys so much for your support through the first week of the podcast. Everybody that tuned in to episode 1, everybody that shared episode 1, shared our page, shared our post throughout the week. We appreciate it so much. Y'all keep tuning in. We'll keep putting out more content each and every week. Be on the lookout for our next episode. We're going to be trying to release every Monday morning a new episode with a recap of all the things sports related for the past week. As well, keep an eye out. We do have a special guest going to be joining us here very soon. Keep an eye out for that episode coming out. I think everybody's going to enjoy that, especially all my A&M Commerce alumni out there. Please tune in. Again, please go to the page, like, subscribe, comment, share, do it all. Appreciate all of y'all's support. We're going to keep coming to you guys every week. As always, much love. Y'all have a good one.